And watch the master class inside of our training right now. Click on the link in the bio and get access to our free master class. It's going to show you everything that you need to know on how to start making money in the real estate game. And also book a call with one of our coaches so we can help you start making the money that you really deserve in the real estate game and avoid a lot of these mistakes that a lot of rookies make when they're out there looking at properties. Check this out. Squatter crisis hits Atlanta as property owners see homes morph into drug and P-dens. Let's check it out.
John Adams, based on decades of experience as a Georgia landlord and property manager. But what happens when somebody moves into your empty house, takes possession, and changes the locks? Well, the answer, it may surprise you because you can't just call a locksmith. It's not as simple as it sounds. John joins us now, and good morning to you, John.
Morning.
So a squatter, we're talking about squatters. So just to define that, it's a person who's illegally residing on your property that they don't own, right?
They have no right to be there. They weren't there as a renter before. They just saw that it was empty, forced their way in, probably changed the locks, and now they don't want you.
Now, as a real estate investor, you may deal with this from time to time. I know I've dealt with it many times. Maybe you buy a property with a tenant in it, and a tenant does not want to cooperate with you. Now, if the deal is good enough, I'll deal with it. I'll follow through on it. But know that you need to know the proper procedure to get them out of there. Many times you're not able to just go in there, even though you want to take the door off and walk away with it, or just go in there and just kick them out. You're not able to do that. There's a way to do this. You want to make sure you do it the right way without getting caught up.
Dana Fowle recently featured a story on Good Day Atlanta about a family in Tucker that was dealing with a situation just like this. So let's start from the beginning. First of all, why is the house empty in the first place? I guess there are lots of reasons. And how in the world did this squatter gain possession?
Well, it works like this. You decide you want to have your house painted. Okay, you hire a contractor. Contractor, as all contractors do, goes deer hunting over the weekend.
Right.
So the house is empty over the weekend for whatever reason. A guy sees a for rent sign and he just calmly goes and breaks in the back door or finds the door unlocked.
I've had to do this many times. Matter of fact, I have a recent situation where I bought a house from an owner, it's vacant, but some squatters had moved into the property. And so I've got a team out there. We knocked on the door, and they knew we were serious. And we actually paid for him to move into another place. He knew it wasn't his place or anything. He was just basically just squatting. And sometimes you got to get the cooperation of these dudes to just basically make it as peaceful as possible. And there's time we have to just call enforcement, the law in there as well.
He changes the locks and now it's his. He's a squatter.
That's ridiculous to think about. So why can't you, as the landlord or the homeowner, just go back and change the locks and take your house back?
Well, that's called a self-help eviction. It's illegal in Georgia. And if you are convicted of it, there are fines, there's possible jail time. And in addition to that, the squatter can then sue you for any damages that you may have caused.
And the little...
That's 100% correct. You got to be really, really careful when dealing with squatters. What I like to do is get them on my side, basically become friends with them. Like, listen, man, what do you want? You want to, maybe we come up with a settlement, give them $1,000, $500, whatever it is, and get them to peacefully, amicably leave the property if possible. If possible.
Research, Metro Atlanta is like number one in a stat you don't want to be number one, and it happens here more than anywhere else in the country.
Atlanta is a very popular place to invest in residential real estate. Prices are reasonable, the economy's good, and as a result, we have a lot of empty houses from time to time, and that's just ripe pickings. All a squatter has to do is simply find a sign that says for rent. It's reasonable to expect that house will be empty. They help themselves in, and it's likely to take 60 to 90 days to get them out. They get a free ride.
Wow.
And if the utilities are on, you can't even turn off the utilities.
So you're paying for that too, right?
Yep.
All right, so here's the question. If you do encounter a squatter in Georgia or in Metro Atlanta, what can you do? How do you get your property back?
We have an 1862 law which deals
Seems
with
to make sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Nothing's changed since then.
Right, and it's called the affidavit of intruder. And if you present, it's an affidavit that you fill out that says, "Hey, I own this. The guy that's in here has no reason to be there, and I want my property back." If you have that notarized and witnessed, and hand it not to the police, because the police will say we have no jurisdiction. You have to give it to the county sheriff. If you're lucky, the sheriff will then go confront the squatter.
That is true. If you just call the police, more than likely they're going to tell you it's a civil matter. They don't want to get involved. You need to go down and file a dispossessory on the property. More than likely, that's what they're going to say. So he's 100% correct.
And ask if he has a counterclaim. If he does, then the sheriff will say there's nothing we can do, and you have to go through traditional eviction, 60 to 90 days. But theoretically, if the sheriff presents the affidavit of intruder.
So if you're buying a property from someone that has a tenant in it, just assume that they're not ready to leave, and you could potentially have to go to court with them. So factor that in your negotiation to make sure you get a good enough discount to make it worthwhile.
And the squatter does not have an affidavit that says he's supposed to be there, then theoretically the sheriff will protect you while you change the locks and put the guy out on the street.
And the video we're looking at right now is from that situation in Tucker, where the story that Dana featured recently on Good Day Atlanta. So here's a question: how can you, or
Damn, drug him out like that? Damn.
How can you prevent this in the first place? What steps can you take as a landlord or a homeowner to prevent this from happening?
Well, really, there's not much. I mean, some of these people are very good at what they do, and they just live their whole life without paying any rent, essentially. They just go from house to house. That was the story in Tucker. But the reality is, I think the smart thing to do would be to put a security system, a burglar alarm, if you will, with extremely loud sirens, which would upset your neighbors, and it would notify you and the police immediately. When the police arrive and the alarm is going off, you have a much better chance of getting the police to say, wait a minute, this is trespassing. This is not a traditional squatting situation. That's my best
Well, that's interesting. So definitely, when you're buying a property, make sure you consider if it has a tenant in it, and make sure you do an inspection on the property. Now, there's no guarantee it won't be that a squatter in it once you have it, because sometimes the owner may not tell you everything. So especially if they're out of state owner, so you want to make sure you do your inspections properly. Drive by the house at night. Drive by at different times of the day before you buy and consider it, and make sure you know for sure that there's a squatter in it, and consider that in your negotiating of that property. So now we're up to our main story. Can't stop. Come on. Can't stop. Diddy. Now, Diddy said something a while back. He said 10 years from now, we'll still be on top. And that manifested. He's still on top as far as in the news. For sure, 100%. Diddy has outdid himself.